We had him here because it's cheaper to have him as a guest than to hire him as a consultant. So we're looking to learn a bunch right now.
90% of the podcasts that are published don't go past episode number 3. And then of those, 90% of those don't go past episode number 20. So like the episode number 3 and the episode number 20, they're kind of like milestones. One of our secrets is you don't have to be Joe Rogan to have the best real estate podcast in your city.
What's the content that people need to focus on?
Hey, they're here.
What's up?
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. You're really going to like what you're going to watch.
Yeah.
If you haven't liked it yet, you should really hit that subscribe button.
Like, subscribe. We're going to get a talk, and you should probably do it with us.
And if not, we're going to get all in your inbox.
Let's go.
Guys, welcome back to Real Estate Untucked podcast. Today, we're joined by Tomas Fonseca. He's the co-founder and the podcast expert. Like, that's the title Wayne will never have. At the Icons of Real Estate. It's a global platform. That empowers real estate professionals. It's through podcasting, networking, and all the fun educational stuff. And Tomas has really been known for his unique ability to connect with high performers, ask the right questions, extract powerful insights that not only help agents, but also investors grow their business. So he's an expert in building authority and getting referrals and turning interviews into business opportunities. So we had him here because it's cheaper to have him as a guest than to hire him as a consultant. So we're looking to learn a bunch right now.
Brad just giving all our secrets away. That's the only reason we have a podcast. That's the only reason.
I knew it. This happened. It's happening again.
Not for the third time. Yeah. So tell us a little bit, because I know you're in the real estate realm, real estate icons of real estate. How'd you get into that? Like, where how's that tie into what you do?
Yeah. So I wouldn't have kind of the traditional story around real estate that you would probably hear around. You're talking to me. I am in Vietnam at the moment. I am what you can consider, a digital nomad. As much as I don't like that term too much. I think it's very, very posh, but it's what I am. And I've got into real estate as I was practicing my marketing and my charisma through my own career. And I got in touch with a marketing agency that was servicing the real estate industry. And I started off as just one more in the army, trying to make the agency be successful. And within I got on a very good relationship with the CEO, and was kind of raising up myself to it. And we started together then the Icons of Real Estate. So what before we were actually helping on SEO, helping building and revitalizing websites, I always had a bigger passion to create something that it's more accessible, right? SEO is expensive, if you haven't heard. Yeah. And not just accessible, something that you don't have to wait, 9 months. You already have to wait 9 months to see a baby, and you don't have to wait 9 months to see results, right? So in podcasting was kind of how the secret that we kind of found. It was it's affordable, right? We can make it affordable, and at the same time, it has both short, medium, and long-term results for the real estate agents. And I didn't know anything about real estate, Brad, to be honest, before I got started, 4-5 years ago. And right now, I have agents. They call me. They want me to be their real estate coach. It's not even nothing about podcasts. It's about real estate coach and real estate marketing and how to generate leads, right? I've been recognized on the streets of Miami from the podcast that we have. So it's been a journey, and I'm still learning things about real estate, but it's been a hell of a journey.
Yeah. So I've seen podcasting, we all have. It's been going on for years. It's not new to 2025, but yet I do feel like there's been a resurgence in more everyday Joes like Wayne and I getting into podcasting. Do you feel like that's the case, or you think it's trailing off a little bit, or it's stronger than ever?
It's stronger than ever. It keeps growing. I'm not going to come here as a geek with all the right statistics, but the podcast audiences are increasing. The podcasts that exist out there are increasing. There was a big bump when COVID hit and everyone was in their sweatpants, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I'm going to start a podcast, right? So there's a bunch of podcasts out there, and that means one thing, right? There's also, 2.5 million agents out there. Do they all succeed? Not quite, right? So we found that exact opportunity that we saw a study actually made by a Buzzsprout, like a recognizable authority in the podcasting world, that most of podcasts, like it was something crazy. It's like 90% of the podcasts that are published don't go past episode number 3. Okay. So if you guys, you're on more than 30 podcasts. So you're actually on the top 1% of podcasts that are out there. All right.
Yes, Mom, I made it.
Round of applause for you.
Yes.
You made it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're done.
It's like, yeah, it's 90% don't go past episode number 3. And then of those, 90% of those don't go past episode number 20. So like the episode number 3 and the episode number 20, they're kind of like milestones. I mean, that at least you can celebrate a little bit, So congrats, guys. You made it.
Thank you.
That's amazing. So when you look at it, like who should be and who shouldn't be starting on?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we're talking about it here in real estate, right? Like if you want to start a podcast about your hobby of wood carving and your grandmother can listen to it, like that's great for you. We focus on podcasts on people that want to grow their business. So the right answer for that, like who should start a podcast, is a real estate agent that wants to grow their business.
Yeah.
And it's not limited to just, being flashy in terms of I'll have me on camera, like I can share it to my clients. I'll have more content. It's not just that. It goes more than that, as we kind of build a framework that we can help agents, recruit their agents, and we help agents actually close deals through the efforts of the podcast. So if you want to grow your business, podcast is a solution.
So I agree. I used to have a different podcast back in the day. It was probably did COVID, but it was a local, right? It's for our city. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, so it's a capital, but it ain't Dallas, right? It ain't Miami. So like we did several episodes, but we kind of let it trail off. So is that what would be the recipe you'd give a real estate agent that wanted to start a podcast? Like what would be the key things they would need to be able to do or know to really kind of make it successful in some way?
So that answer might take like 4 hours, but I'll keep it short in terms of there's 2 approaches that you can take to podcasting if you want to like go step by step. One, you can go nationwide or internationally, or you can go local, right? I know that you guys are not going very local as we're talking on different continents right now.
Right.
But for the traditional real estate agent, there wouldn't be any interest for them. If they want to do more transactions and more volume, there's no, a lot of interest for them to do a nationwide podcast. If you hyper-focus your podcast, you would be surprised about like the actual results that you can have it. For once, we have one of our secrets is you don't have to be Joe Rogan to have the best real estate podcast in your city.
I love that. Yeah.
And well, we've proved that because we grabbed on people that didn't even know what podcasting was, and they now have the best real estate podcast in their own city. In real estate, there's also like a famous saying. It was like, it's the best known always beats the best, something like that. I don't know the right
no,
words,
it's
but,
so true.
right?
It's so true. Yes.
And by you having the number one real estate podcast in your city, people will perceive you like, hey, like this guy's the best agent, like he has the best podcast. Like it couldn't be further away from the truth. The guy is actually not a good agent. He just has a great podcast, but people perceive you as such. We started a podcast. It was actually our first ever podcast. It was with a probate real estate agent in Beverly Hills, California. And obviously very niche, right? A probate real estate. And he was not just focusing on the niche, he also wanted to focus on his area, which was Beverly Hills. So it's like, how hard can it be to be the best probate real estate podcast in Beverly Hills? So we quickly hit that, and the show got actually on such a positive roll that we ended up not just being the number one probate real estate podcast in Beverly Hills, but the number one in California and the number one in the US. If you go and search, probate real estate podcast, like our clients is the one that shows up first. His clients, they're coming to him thinking he's a freaking celebrity, thinking like, oh my God, they're like, he's a hotshot, I mean, as much as he's a wonderful guy, like he might not be the best probate real estate agent in the US,
Right.
Statistics says otherwise. But for every single person that he talks to, he's perceived as one. Okay. So to answer your question, Brad, like to get started is to look around, right? What you can do is you search real estate podcast and then you put your city, right? Most of the times, if it's a big city, for example, Miami, Texas, Los Angeles, New York, whatever, it will show up kind of some podcasts, but it's never a lot of podcasts. We're not talking about there's 150 real estate podcasts in Miami.
Right.
There aren't.
Yes.
It's
amazing.
It's like 10. Probably 4 of us are produced by us. But there's always an opportunity because you're such in a small pool. And the best is when you're city in a small town city, like Sioux Falls or Scranton or whatever.
Yeah.
That you search, real estate podcasts, Sioux Falls, and you don't see anything there. So just by you starting a real estate podcast there, on day one, you'll be the number one. So there are a lot of great opportunities there for agents to position themselves as an expert with very little energy and effort just by starting a podcast, a local podcast in their city.
That makes sense. So what's the content? Someone's biting the back of my leg. Sorry. What's the content that people need to focus on? Is it like celebrating like local businesses so they get the viewership that way? Politicians? Like what's your take
that's
on
what
that?
always been my question. Is like, is it real estate focused, or do you find people that focus more on like interest and their personality, and then some real estate? Like, it would just be interesting to know what mixes you've seen work really well.
Yeah, so it has to be a mix. It has to be a mix because for real estate focus, we call it real estate focused podcast, but sometimes real estate is not even the biggest focus. Okay, it goes more to say that. Like you don't need a lot of people listening. If 10 people listen to your podcast and one buys a house, like you'll be happy, right? But if you keep it straight to real estate, I mean, the normal foe is I don't know if they have like a kinky interest just to see the real estate market updates that you have for them. But if you keep it like 100% real estate, yes, you'll have some people actively interested in buying and selling, and people interested in possibly moving to your city as well. It also goes very well in getting buyer leads that way, but it will be a small portion of the leads.
Correct.
So what we focus on is we create real estate content, right? By inviting other industry partners. For example, you invite, an insurance agent to talk about like home insurance. You invite, depending on the location, right? You might invite like a roof specialist or not, or you might invite like a junk removal guy or not, just to talk about all of those aspects. But then you also have a community focus. Okay. So this community focus is where you can actually grab the viewers and capture them. And then with the real estate, you kind of then drip on them with the real estate, because real estate is not going to attract like everyone. Whereas if you have like a podcast talking about, like a firefighter that saved, 2 kittens or whatever, it might attract like people that you start getting connections with them. So we do that altercation between, community focused content and real estate content.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I love that.
How have you found length of podcast, right? You mentioned Rogan earlier, and we all know like he hits 3 hours every single time. Dax Shepard's like at 5. Does it matter how long? Is there a sweet spot that you have found? 10 minutes or 45 or 2? What is it?
Your girlfriend will always say to you, there's always a sweet spot, right? So the sweet spot for people like, and the metaphor can continue to Joe Rogan, but I won't go too much here, but I'll keep that on my mind. But for Joe Rogan and for other top podcasts that you see out there, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Okay.
Right.
He can literally do whatever he wants. He has the best guests. You go and see his YouTube channel is not SEO optimized at all. He doesn't even have thumbnails. Concerning that, like podcasts like the Diary of the CEO, have actually topped them on streams because Joe Rogan doesn't care about optimization. He only cares about the content itself. Whereas the other guy is testing, thumbnails here, thumbnails there. He's testing the time. He's testing the promotion. Joe Rogan is not the number 1 podcast in the world anymore. I'm not even sure if he's on the top 5. So it is important to look at the exact what are the best practices and the best metrics. In terms of time, which was your question, it's better to have someone, if you have, for example, 40 minutes, okay? it's better to have someone listen to 2 episodes of yours of 20 minutes than to have them listen to one of 40. Okay.
Right.
Because the algorithm will show that they listen to 2 episodes in 100% against listening to one in 100%. And there's 2 things that matter to the algorithm. One is the click-through rate, how many people clicked on your podcast to listen to it. And the other is audience retention. How long did they listen to it? If you're going to ask for your friends for views and they click on the link and they watch it for 5 seconds and then they leave, what they're doing, they're actually harming your video. So if you're ever promoting to your foes and to your network, it's like, hey, can you help me with some views? Make sure that they stick around until the end of the episode and actually view the episode, for a change. So the sweet spot for me, and for me, and what I say for me is through all the studies that I had and the experience that I had, is between 20 and 30 minutes. Okay. I would go over to 30 minutes if the guest is good, if you have like someone like me as a guest or something like that.
Someone as great as you. Yeah, absolutely.
It's also nice to not be like a very little podcast, especially if you have a guest, like it will make you think like they weren't that interested to hear what I have to say, So it's like between, 20 minutes and 30 minutes is that sweet spot that will let people kind of listen to the podcast on their commutes, listen to the podcast on their kitchen, while they're at the gym running. Because a lot of times when you see a podcast that is 1 hour and 20, you'd be like, I don't have time for that.
It's like me with Audible books. If it's 10 hours, I'm like, I don't care how good it is. I'm not listening to it. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay. That's good to know, actually. It really does make sense. Smaller, full watch, not just one better content. How do you feel about chopping them up? Like making them a series? Is that even, if you had a longer podcast, would you say, hey, take an hour one and make it a 3-part series so people keep clicking through, even on YouTube, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I would be open to, because it does depend a lot on podcast to podcast, right? One thing you can always do is try, right? Like do some A/B tests and see how it works and compare. One of the things if you can capture their attention to stick around for part 2 next week, that's amazing. It obviously needs kind of an additional care into the editing of it. It's not just putting on the description of the social saying that part 2 will be here next week and thinking that people will be excited, right? So you kind of have to do like a little, maybe for part 2 at the end of the part 1, you do a little trailer of what they can expect for part 2, right? Yeah. And so yeah, like a series, it's always good. Just don't be creating like new YouTube channels for those series or new podcast syndication for those series. Keep everything under the same channel because it's already hard growing one channel. Like if you go ahead and start creating others, like it will be even harder.
So how are people growing channels right now? What's working?
Sorry, come again?
He was saying, how are people growing their channels right now? Like what works, what doesn't work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of techniques going around. Again, growing their channels is if we follow those 2 performance indicators, that is the click-through rate and the audience retention. We're doing a lot of cool things, kind of unorthodox as well, to keep having good results there. For example, there's one that you don't announce the end of the episode or the end of the video. You just announce it like it's just the video is over.
Oh, that's dirty. I love that. That is so good.
If they finish 100%, it's good for the algorithm, right? Whereas if you'll be like, hey, so there's some things that you shouldn't say as well. Like, for example, last question, Tomas, for you is this, blah, blah. Like, don't worry. I mean, if you say it today, I won't stop you. But when you say last question, people are already thinking like, oh, they're going to start looking on their phone. Okay, what is the next thing I'm going to see? And they're probably, as you do with music as well, they're probably going to click on the next thing they're going to see before they finish the actual damn thing. Right. And so we're removing any outros. Outros are coming to be like out of fashion. What is in fashion is abruptly ending the video to make sure that you have 100% audience retention. So that's like one of the examples that we're doing to increase the views and increase the kind of the new blood traffic coming into the channel. Obviously, repurposing content into shorts. Shorts are the best form of content for promotion. Leveraging the guests is something that is so important. So important. Even for us, like we have more than 600 episodes, like we take it, it's not like we invested a lot in the promotion of it. We kind of like just got along, let everything go organically. And we post on an episode, and if the guest doesn't really help with promotion, like we may have, around, 100, 200 views in total, like nothing much. If the guest helps, like we have thousands, and sometimes the guest doesn't need to be famous. Like he doesn't need to have, 35,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just plugging them in on the promotional plan. It helps your social so much, because if you invite them as a collaborator and they accept, that's a winning moment there. And then like you'll be surprised by people that sometimes they don't go as often on podcasts. Like if I had a friend that never been to a podcast and he said me like, hey, I was a guest on this podcast, like I'm going to listen to it. Right. So definitely like following the best practices on the optimization, leveraging the guests for the promotion. Like it has been the things that, help us grow our podcast channel.
Yeah. So with the icons of real estate, are y'all coming in and helping like moderate it? You're helping edit it. You're helping promote it. Like y'all doing soup to nuts, all of it, or you just give them some content ideas? Or tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So we kind of do all of it. The only thing that our clients need to do is to host the episode. Okay. Everything else we take care of in terms of like coaching, in terms of setting up the launch, the branding, creating the promotional materials, repurposing every episode, editing every episode, posting and syndicating the episode through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all that. And we do a little bit of work on social media and SEO. So we know successful real estate agents are busy, right? You see Wayne there on his limousine. So it's like we need to be able to, to create a framework that works with busy people. So it's literally like the podcast that we work with, people, they spend like, 1 to 2 hours a week. And this is like on average, right? Like sometimes they don't spend any time doing a couple of recordings, 1 or 2 recordings per week. And that's it. And then they have a podcast and we do everything else.
That's awesome.
So it's hands-on white glove service.
Yeah, no, that's what's needed. I think that's obviously the biggest roadblock, and y'all are filling a really good niche. We have a fantastic podcast producer, Kelsey, who's full time with us. That's what he does. He does it all. Because Wayne and I are obviously pretty busy, and we get together for like an hour on Tuesdays. We talk through metrics. We look at stuff. Kelsey kind of tells us what he's thinking, and then boom, it shows up. You show up. We kind of get going. So, but that's also a lot of effort to get that person in place. And so that's where I think a lot of people go, I can't start that. I don't even know where to begin. And so it sounds like they could reach out to you, grab a microphone, have a decent camera, and roll on.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting started is really easy. Even people, they stress a lot about the equipment, about the studio. And I mean, Brad, you have an incredible setup, right there. But you go and see, for example, you grab a famous podcast of yours. Even like you go to Joe Rogan and you scroll down to see the first episode of Joe Rogan, and you see how bad the video is, how bad the audio is, how bad the setup is. And you compare it to today, like starting is the most important thing. Grabbing a mic out of Amazon, like it's like you get a good one, for $40. You get a good camera, for $80. Okay, one of the things that is important as well, just as I'm talking about the camera, anything below 1080p, YouTube will absolutely put you to the ground. Okay.
Really?
They won't even show you. No, because I mean, you have to think of on the YouTube side. Why would they want to show a video that doesn't have quality, right? So if you ever your podcast on video, which I always recommend too, have a minimum P, and if you can have yourself and then your guests with a 4K camera, even better.
Will it push you up with 4K? Like, will it do the opposite and put you higher?
4K will push you up. 4K will push you up because they'll prioritize that. And there's also like you can tell this to Kelsey. Even if your ratio is on P, there are tools out there that can increase the ratio to 2K or increase 2K to 4K, and it's not that hard. Even through a Google search, you'll be able to help you.
Well, this podcast is gonna not get ranked high because Wayne's on a damn cell phone. So there we go. He's gonna 310 crap going on. I'm just kidding. No, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Going back to it just a little bit, when we're talking about podcast setup, things like that, do you encourage people to kind of build out their first 10 episodes or 100 episodes just to kind of see what the flavor is going to be? Or is it just like pick somebody interesting and just go, because starting's better than, a decent plan?
So I said starting is the most important thing, but it's, of course, having the intention to start, you still need to start in the right direction. Okay. So most podcasts fail. You would think they fail because of commitment, right? They fail like people they don't have the time for it, or they don't have the patience for it. I mean, if it would take you 5 hours, to edit one episode, and every time you do an episode, you get $10,000, I think we would have 5 hours to do it, right? So the biggest hindrance to having a successful podcast is actually the vision of it. Most people, when they start a podcast, they start just because, even in real estate,
Right.
sometimes they
Yep.
start a real estate podcast, but they don't really attach a vision. They don't attach objectives. And then 6 months go down the line, and, they spend, this amount of money on it, this amount of time. They look back, what did I achieve with this? They don't know, because they haven't been tracking it, right?
Yeah.
So setting up with a vision for anyone to get started, even more important than the microphone and the camera and the shirt you're going to wear, it's literally having the vision. The podcast needs to follow your business objectives. It's not the same. It's not the opposite. Okay. The podcast is not going to be on its own. No, like you have a goal, and the goal is to, okay, I want to increase my production to 50 transactions. I want to double my volume. That's it. Okay. How much of this growth can I attach to the podcast? And
Right.
what is going to be my concrete plan to hit it with the best guarantee I can get, right? So that's what people need to start brainstorming.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So we're talking about getting a plan going. We're talking about doing all the fun stuff, but you keep talking about getting business out of the podcast, which I assume means call to actions, or how have you found best to help agents not feel, I think call to actions, most agents are like, oh, I don't want to ask for business. They're just going to call me because I'm a good podcaster. How do you twinkle that in a little bit? Sprinkle, not
Nice.
twinkle, twinkle different.
I love that question, because that's where I get to even tell you like how podcasting can actually grow a real estate business. Okay. So we see the growth in two avenues, and one is through, content creation, and through the content creation, you can add those CTAs. Through content creation, you can have some, inbound leads. You can position yourself as an authority in your market. You can use that content as well as a knowledge base. It's actually one thing that we've been teaching our podcast hosts is to, if you have a podcast, for example, and you talked about we were talking about like insurance before. If you talked about like insurance in, Wisconsin or whatever, and you have a lead coming to you with a question about that, like how cool would it look like if you actually not just answer that lead with their query, but then it's like, hey, I actually recorded this episode, 3 months ago, and we talked exactly about what you're asking. Like, if you want to take a look at the episode, here's the link. They'll be thinking like this guy is a professional, right? So obviously that avenue side of the content creation, there's a lot of then little alleys and streets that you can go that help you establish your brand and grow your business. We like to focus even more on the other avenue, which is building relationships. So we know that we live in a world that the attention span of a clownfish is bigger than a human. I don't know if
Right.
you've seen this. Attention span of a clownfish, which is known to be dumb, is I think 11 seconds. And then the human is 8 seconds. They're having studies that in the next 10 years, it will be 5 seconds. So it's bad. It's bad. So it's obviously, getting someone's attention to even like getting to business with you, it's bad. Like you need to think of creative ways. And the podcast is that way, right? For example, Brad and Wayne, like we're meeting here for the first time, Obviously this is better than a cold LinkedIn message that you could send to me like, hey, let's connect. No, like we're doing a podcast. We can revive this and then, and then keep in touch to whatever the business is gonna go to. So what we teach our real estate agents is how to generate a referral network through the relationships that you're building with the guests of the podcast.
Okay. That's smart.
So we ask, where are most referrals coming from right now? Because even if they are from past clients, we can have past clients coming and keep nurturing that relationship. So you guarantee that the next referral will be for you. But most of it is like industry partners that they have referrals to give. Because sometimes you all have a mortgage a broker that you go to, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you pick one for every single client that you have. That would be a mess, right? You always have one title rep that you go to. And there's a lot of title reps there. They'll gladly start doing business with other people. Maybe the agent that they're doing business with, they don't even like it, So by you getting in connection, for example, you have a title representative on your show, you get along well with them, obviously you're doing this locally. So like, hey, let's grab a coffee, let's grab a beer if you're one of those like me. And like, you can position yourself as a go-to referral man, right? And we've seen this happen even before the podcast is live. Okay. And that's the beauty of podcasts. And that's why I meant like having like short-term goals. Like we've seen this, the podcast was not even live. This lady in Nebraska, she was interviewing agents outside of her service area, which is Columbus. And she interviews this other lovely lady. They got along super, super nice. They even like booked another Zoom just to chat about life. They were both, Christian and mothers. So it's like if you focus on your niche as well, you have a higher chance of actually getting a relationship as well. So we also take that into account. 2 weeks after the episode, she calls her and say like, oh, I have a deal. Like I can't do it because it's too far ahead from me, but it's right there in your area. Like, can you take it? Turns out it was a land development deal of 70 acres that the developer then created. I think it was something around like 330 listings. They were all like short-term rentals, commercial listings, residential listings, and all of those listings went to our podcast client.
That's crazy.
And that was from one connection.
Yeah.
So imagine if you have a year as 52 weeks, right? Imagine that you're having one connection per week. That's 52 connections. And I have a saying that is, if you treat people like they're worth $2, they'll be worth $2. If you treat people like they're worth $2 million, there might be a chance that they will, right? And if you treat 52 people, 52, that's a lot of people to treat like they're $2 million. And the chances are that some of them will. And that's how we have clients grow their business, getting referrals, entering business we work with some investors as well. And they kind of have the gas, help them with raising capital as well. So it's like,
yeah,
there's a lot of segues to growing your business through a podcast, but the relationships, that's where the money is at. I'll tell you that.
So it sounds like it's a backdoor way, because in our real estate brokerage, we teach people, like, if they're business owners, go take them, find out how you can give them business, and most likely they can refer you a lot as well, right? So it's interesting because it's almost like a backdoor way of, like, instead of having that awkward cold call coffee, just ask them to be a guest, pick their brain,
Exactly.
You'll like each other, and then you'll be connected.
And then at the same time that you're doing that, you're creating content. So like you're doing that simultaneously. Like you're not like, I follow a few cold callers on Instagram. I mean, they're fun, but I mean, nobody wants to see your cold calls, right? So it's like you're not creating content as you're prospecting, and this is a very highly target prospecting that is very likely to give you results. And at the same time as you're doing that, you're creating content. It's the ultimate strategy.
My favorite thing is about putting your name up in lights and shaking hands. I think when you've got great at doing both those, that's beautiful. You know what I mean? And it creates such a great thing. I mean, I've heard so many people say last year, if you just go do one thing, like go nail this, let Thomas and his team do it all for you, and then see it can trickle down to all the other things that people want to do. But like, this is the perfect top of funnel thing that trickles down to everything else. So I think it's brilliant.
Thank you, Wayne. And yeah, and it works then also, like, obviously aligned with your like content strategy for social media and YouTube strategy for YouTube. The same thing goes on the website as well. Like it's an additional authoritative resource that you will have to show them, not just blog articles. Blog articles. Like I read blog articles, about, very specific stuff. The blog articles right now, sometimes they generate some traffic, but you got to think to yourself, like, who is going to read this piece of content,
Yeah.
So obviously the podcast, they have a little bit of a stronger energy on bringing people in.
Yeah. Do you recommend people do the interviews in person if they can, or do something like this where it's a little bit easier and do it on Zoom or whatever you want?
Yeah. So if in person, you'll get a better connection with the person in front of you, right? For example, if we were in the same studio right now, probably after we would go grab a snack, grab a beer, whatever, right? And you'll be a much more better segue to consummating the relationship. And the same thing goes for content, right? Content is better. If you see the best podcasts out there, they're not done virtually. They're done on a studio. Okay.
Yep.
So the content is better. It's more human. But the convenience of it, the convenience of being able to be in your studio or in your limousine like Wayne, or in Vietnam like me, and doing the podcast, it kind of makes it more worthy to at least start virtually and remote. And if it goes off, because if you have to rent a studio, remember that ain't cheap, because you have to rent not just the studio, you have to rent their equipment as well, and sometimes you have to also rent, depending on the studio, like a sound engineer, and that comes up to be like just like $500 just to record the episode, not even including producing it, right? So definitely, in person, if you have the means to it and the time, if you want to get it going and see the results of podcasting, like nothing wrong with virtual.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Wayne and I do it because he's in Texas. I'm in South Carolina. Our guests are in Vietnam or wherever they are. But I do agree with you, like the in-person part. And I wish, Kelsey's safe. Kelsey's job is totally safe, but I wish we had known about this too, like starting out. Cause we're in this. Kelsey. Yeah, we're in this. My studio itself, like what I'm looking at is I'm looking at $5,000 plus. And it's a labor of love because I'm kind of a tech nerd and so is Wayne. So it's one of those things we can put together. But yeah, starting it, people would be dumb if they want to do a podcast not to call y'all. So what would be the best way for somebody to connect? We'll put your stuff in show notes, obviously, but what's the best way for people to connect with you or your team or whatever?
Yeah, so if you want to surf the web, we're pretty good on SEO as well. So if you type my name, Tomas Fonseca, on our friend Google, it should guide you on the right direction. If you type, obviously, icons of real estate, we should come up there and you can see our website. If you want to go directly to me and you like writing emails, you can get me at tomas@iconsofrealestate.com. Pretty simple. I'll also share with you guys, I'll put it on the show notes. I'm not going to go and bother spelling you the whole URL.
Yeah.
But we kind of made public our strategy and our frameworks. So we have like 5 podcast frameworks that people can download. Sure. Obviously in exchange of their contact details, we have to get something out of it, but it is for free. We don't nag you as much. Don't worry. But so it's 5 podcast frameworks. It basically, tells kind of the strategy that we do in terms of how to grow your business. It has a hosting guide on like how to be a host and how to host a podcast. Some very cool tricks. It has like the launching essentials, how to launch a podcast. It has how to find the best guest for your podcast. And then it has, what is the other? Oh, and it has a guide on syndicating it, right? How to see that's a more technical, nerdy part, but how to syndicate it through the whole channel. So I'll share that with you guys as well.
And as soon as those are going to read all that, they're going to go, "Dear God, Thomas, please come do all this for me." Because what did you do? But it's great. Absolutely. I think if you walked away with one visual, like it's a phenomenal first domino, right? Like your podcast can be a phenomenal first domino, but that drops, it leads to all the other things that you want to have happen in your business. So it's beautiful. All right, my last question, since I was mostly quiet.
Damn it, Wayne! Did you learn nothing?
No, then you're gonna ask something, Brad. No, here, and this is my last question. I'm like a Baptist preacher. I want to know any horror stories, like anything that has gone terribly wrong, or a client went rogue, or something that got put on the air that was terrible. Like. Are there any phenomenal horror stories that we need to know about?
So this is not the last question. We still have 30 minutes to go, right? But the horror, I wouldn't say a horror story. Of course, like we are all human, yes. And we all make mistakes in terms of like posting stuff on the wrong channel or something like that. Like we all did that. The biggest kind of like struggle that we have is through launching the episode. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember a horror story because the struggles, they're not so fun. So one horror story is that we also help our clients do the guest booking. So we on the strategy part, we define a guest avatar with them, right? And be like, okay, this is the person that I'm looking for, right? it's in this location, they're doing this, they're doing that, blah, blah. And there was once that this client, she didn't pay too much attention to the guest. So she would just show up on the episode. And turns out the person that would fit the guest avatar was actually our arch nemesis. And they showed up on the recording. Obviously, like she didn't record it. I would love to see both of their expressions, because I think both of them, they didn't know what they were that they were meeting the other person, or maybe one of them knew and felt that the other one would say yes. So they just went, and she just told me like she like absolutely like she turned on this, and then she sent us a list. She sent us a list of course, I'm not going to be like sharing names here, but she sent us a list like of like, it was actually a long list of, like you can't invite these people, like we don't get along. It was like almost 50 people.
You are the if you haven't listed that long, you are the problem. You need to go to talk to a therapist.
Oh yeah, of course. It's not I do podcast production. I don't do therapy, so I didn't say any of that, obviously.
Gosh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, but that was fun.
Wow.
That was fun.
Awesome. Well, Tomas, thanks for your time, your insights. We're going to go with that one. Your intuition, you probably do have a good intuition. I just don't know it.
Yeah.
But thanks for, and you're probably up in the middle of your night right now. So your commitment is well respected, and hopefully people will go and start podcasting very easily with you and your company. Because honestly, I don't say it's very often, but they'd be dumb not to. Podcasting is great. It's fun. It's a good creative outlet. But yet if you can follow your plan and get business out of it too, win all the way around. So appreciate you. Appreciate everything you're doing. And yeah,